The newest addition to the Star Wars franchise, Maul Shadow Lord, just concluded, and obviously I'm here to give my overall thoughts on the season. I have done short little reviews for each 2 episodes together, not like a video per episode, just like each week I've done a short video for those 2 episodes. But I'm just gonna give my overall thoughts on the show. But my opinion on Maul as a character in of Star Wars, since this is like really the first time I get to talk about Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I love it like I think a good chunk of people do. It's my third favorite franchise of all time. Obviously my favorites are Marvel and DC. I know it's basic, but it's like that. And the movies, the movies I think are great. I grew up with them, basically all of them. The only one I guess I could be considered not to have grown up with was, Rise of Skywalker, but even then, that came out, like, right after I turned 10, so I still somewhat grew up with that one, but I grew up with the original trilogy, the prequels, Solo, Rogue One. I saw Rogue One in theaters, the animated Clone Wars movie, and the Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and stuff. So I love Star Wars. I love most of the movies. There are a couple of them that I don't really enjoy as much. On the show side, I didn't really grow up with any of the shows. I kind of started watching them in the past couple of years. The Mandalorian, though, is my third favorite show of all time. I love that show. And Maul, as a character, I really only saw in Phantom Menace until I think it was around the end of 2023 is when I first watched Clone Wars and Rebels. So until then, I had only really seen him in Phantom Menace, and obviously like he looked cool, and the double-bladed lightsaber was really cool, and the fight is awesome and everything, but I wasn't like the biggest fan of Maul. And then when you watch the Clone Wars, it's like, oh, he's actually a pretty good character with some backstory. And then you watch Rebels and you kind of see that continuing, and that's really cool. Obviously he's in Solo as like a little cameo. But that to say that I have become a big Darth Maul fan. He's not like one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, but I have become a pretty big Darth Maul fan. And when this show was like announced to be happening, I was like, oh, that's gonna be cool. So what did I think of the first season? Not the show. It's actually gonna be multiple seasons. Season 2 has already been confirmed. It's being worked on, and the voice actor of Maul said that it won't be that long of a wait. But what I thought of the first season was, I thought it was really good. It's I think number 6th on my ranking of the Star Wars shows. And I thought that it was a great season. Obviously, this show can continue on and become even better than it already is. But just seeing this story of Maul, I think it was great. I think that for the most part, the episodes just kept getting better. There was a little faltering around episodes 3 and 4, where I think that Maul didn't have as much screen time as I would have liked for the main character to have. That's something with me, is that I know some people don't have as big of a problem with it, but for me, in a show, in episodes, the main character for me, I think should have like at least 70, maybe not, like 65% of the screen time. And I know that's a lot, but at the same time, I mean, it's the main character. Maybe not 65, but it depends. Like, I want, for the most part, for most of the episodes, the main character is the one that has the most screen time. I guess there are episodes here and there where you don't have to give them that much screen time, and it will work, but sometimes, like, just for me, like, it's not my favorite. And a good example of that is my favorite show of all time, Daredevil. In Daredevil Season 3, I can't remember which episode it is. I I think it's either episode 5 or episode 6, is the backstory of Bullseye. And in that episode, Daredevil has only a little bit at the end of the episode. The rest of it is Wilson Fisk learning about Bullseye's backstory. And I think that episode is a great way of how to do an episode like that, where the main character isn't in it as much, because obviously it's still engaging. It has characters that you do feel connected to, like Wilson Fisk and Bullseye. Like, they're obviously bad people, but you do like seeing them. And then another version of that is in the same season, which is my least favorite episode of Daredevil, even though it's still not like a horrible episode, is episode 10, Karen Page's backstory, where for most of that episode, it is Karen Page's backstory, and you don't get as much Daredevil in that episode. I feel that's a little bit of a bad way of doing it for me. Now, Karen Page is a character in that show that I'm not the biggest fan of, but that's the type of episode that I'm like, I don't exactly know how to feel. And I kind of need to talk about Daredevil a little bit. Sorry, I'm kidding. But that's kind of like where I come from, is that I think that in Maul, a couple of the episodes in the middle of it faltered a little bit, just from, like, Maul wasn't in it as much. But then the backside of the season was just awesome, and it just kept getting better. All the lightsaber fights and everything that you get are extremely fun. It's just, I love lightsabers. I love lightsaber battles, and this show really, really delivers on all the lightsaber action that you want. And then once you, as I've been saying, once you get to the end, it's just amazing. I want to talk about the end so bad, but I'm going to start with the first little bit. You start getting introduced to these characters. Obviously, you get reintroduced to Maul. And for some people, this might be their introduction to Maul, and it doesn't, like, exactly, like, outright, like, give you everything that you would need if you're, like, a new Maul fan, but I think that as an introduction, it's a pretty good introduction, and as the season goes throughout, you do get to learn a little bit more. But obviously, you would have wanted to see, like, Clone Wars and Rebels. Not Rebels. I mean, if you want to see Rebels to know where he ends up, yeah, but for the most part, all you have to really see is Clone Wars, specifically. I think he showed up in season 4, so, like, season 4 and 5. He wasn't in 6, so, and then season 7. It might have been in season 3, but I think he was in season 4, 5, and 7. So, like, and Phantom Menace, I guess, but he's not, like, a character in that one. So, really, all you really need to know about Maul coming in is those couple seasons of Clone Wars. But just getting you reintroduced to him, and you've got, like, Mandalorians as his, like, lackeys. I think that's really cool. Mandalorians are probably, like, my favorite faction in Star Wars. So just having Mandalorians, like, even as background characters, is just really cool. Seeing them, and his second in command is a Mandalorian as well, and that's really cool. And I think she was a pretty fine character. She wasn't my favorite, but, I mean, when she was on screen, I didn't hate it. And then you get introduced to two new Jedi characters. You get introduced to Devin and her master, who I can't remember the name of, but, I think that the journey that Devin goes on is really interesting. I think that her master isn't exactly my favorite, but he doesn't need to be because of what he's there to be, which we'll get to. But I think that Devin's character is pretty interesting. And then the other main characters of the show is Lawson, who is a cop, detective, whatever you want to call him, and his partner, Two Boots, who is, like, this robot, and then his son ends up coming in and becoming a bit of a bigger character, and then you get introduced to this, like, crime leader. I can't remember his name, but he's, like, this, he was, like, this little blue alien guy who, in the first episode, was, like, in a big mech suit to be taller, but, for most of the show, he's just, like, this guy over here who kind of gets brought into Maul's dealings, and some of that is also because in episodes 3 and 4, Maul kind of takes control of the Pike Syndicate, And that's one thing I liked about the show, is that it wasn't like a big part, but it's kind of bringing in like the Pikes and Crimson Dawn and all these like different factions that I think is going to be cool seeing in future seasons. My introduction to Crimson Dawn and them, like my full introduction, was the comic books of Star Wars Bounty Hunters, and then War of the Bounty Hunters, which is a Boba Fett story, and then Bounty Hunters is a story following Bounty Hunter Valance, who hasn't been introduced in like shows or movies or anything, but he's in those comics. And so that was like my introduction to like Crimson Dawn and like all this and kind of like what they are. And I think they're really cool. So every time they show up, I'm like, oh, they're from those comic books, which are canon, but they're comic books. So it's not like a lot of people know those stories. But the first little bit of the season obviously doesn't have as much lightsaber action. You get some in the episodes because they're like, obviously we need them to have lightsaber fights. But for like the first little bit, the only really lightsaber battles you get is like Maul and Devin fighting, and that's more so Maul kind of trying to figure out exactly what she knows with it, and just kind of like that. It's kind of like testing. And then as you get going, you get a fight with Maul and Devin and her master, and then the Inquisitors show up, and you get some pretty cool fights with them. And every fight with the Inquisitors is just really cool, and like each one just keeps getting better and better. Where in the first couple, you get Devin and her master fighting one, and then you get her and Maul teaming up to fight one, and then you get the second one coming in, and then you get Maul versus those two, and then in the last couple episodes you get Maul, Devin, and her master versing those two, ultimately leading to Darth Vader showing up and him fighting off Maul and Devin and her master, and then it kind of just keeps going down where Devin gets interrupted by the Inquisitors and fights them, and then Maul and her master are fighting Vader over here, and then Maul ends up kind of just dipping and leaving, and then her master ends up getting killed by Vader in the last episode, which kind of sets her up into being like angry and vengeful. She ultimately takes Maul's offer to be his apprentice, so that's another plotline throughout the show, is him like slowly kind of like breaking her down, and then once her master dies, it's like the final thing in it, and she's like, okay, I will be your apprentice. And I'm pretty sure she, like, from what I've heard of people who know a bit more about Star Wars than I do, she's gonna end up being like Darth Talon or something, who in like Legends is one of Maul's like apprentices. So if that happens, that would be cool. I don't know anything about Darth Talon, but maybe I'll end up learning more, and if she ends up being Darth Talon, that would be kind of cool. But obviously my favorite part of the show was when Darth Vader showed up. Just him and Maul fighting, and everyone like before that like was like, so who would win, like Maul or Vader, like which one? And then when Vader shows up, it's like, oh yeah, it's Vader. Because like every time he's on screen, like he's just like fighting them with one hand, and it's like he's toying with them, and then he's just like taking them down. Like Devin, he doesn't take down, but that's because well, he kind of takes her down, but she gets involved with the Inquisitor, so it's not like she... But he does, like, whoop him. And, like, when there's 3-on-1 and he's whooping him, and Maul is, like, this duelist that you've just seen is really good, it's just, like, holy crap. And when you see earlier in the season when Maul versus the Inquisitors, and he ends up losing, it's like, if he loses to the Inquisitors, imagine what's going to happen when Vader shows up. And then he does, and it was awesome. I did not expect Vader to show up. Obviously, this should be releasing on May the 4th, the day the show ended. I am going to get it out, but if it somehow just does not, this will be the day after. But I was not expecting him to show up in this season. I think just because some of the videos I've watched of breakdowns and everything after the episodes, people were like, yeah, we don't expect Vader to show up in this season. I kind of got to that, and I was like, okay, he's not going to be in this season, but he's going to probably be in one of the future seasons. I mean, he has to be. But no, he shows up in this season and just completely takes over the show. He is my second favorite Star Wars character. My favorite is Din Djarin. But he was awesome. And there were a couple moments in the episode with him where and even the episode that episode 9 that introduced him, like he was in the last little scene. A movie, like a horror movie, Star Wars movie, where like he's the villain and you just got like either Jedi or someone trying to escape him, and he just keeps showing up and he's like this unstoppable force. That would be an awesome movie. But I just hope that Darth Vader just keeps showing up in these shows and maybe in some movies, because that would be awesome. Speaking of, I know I'm going on a little tangent here, but we've got our first Star Wars movie in a while, since Rise of Skywalker in 2019, in later this month, actually, in May 23rd, Memorial Day weekend. Mandalorian and Grogu is releasing. I'm super excited for that because, obviously, as I said, Mandalorian is my third favorite show of all time. But I've heard some rumors that there might be Clone Wars flashbacks in that one, and that there's even like a small possibility that like Hayden Christensen could return as like a young Anakin Skywalker and stuff. That would be cool. Just because, like, even though he's not Darth Vader in it, he is the character, so it would just be kind of cool to see him in that. But I just kind of wanted to mention that. We will see later this month. But Maul Shadowlord was... Ooh, before I even give my closing thoughts, Dryden Voss returns in this. He works for Crimson Dawn. And in Solo, A Star Wars Story, which is a movie I think is underrated, he is played by Paul Bettany in that. And he returns in this. And he's in episodes 9 and 10. And I just feel like it was kind of a bad missed opportunity that Paul Bettany did not return. Obviously, it's not the worst thing, mostly because it's like Dryden Voss isn't like a big character, so it's like even if Paul Bettany didn't return to play him, it's not like the worst thing. And like in Clone Wars, like people who play Anakin or Obi-Wan aren't the same people from the movies. I just thought it would have been kind of cool that Paul Bettany would return as him, and he didn't, which was kind of disappointing. But it made up for it with Vader. But I don't really think I have anything else to say. Just quick overview of the characters and what I thought of them, and then my overall thoughts. Obviously, Darth Maul is really cool. I liked everything they did with him. I thought that, like, there was an episode where he cried, so they're giving Maul even more depth than he had, and I can't wait to see how his story continues. Devin, I think, is a really cool, new, interesting character, and I can't wait to see where she goes, especially since now she's going to be, like, going down the more dark side. Her master was one that, other than him just being, like, a Jedi, so it's cool to see, like, other Jedi, and, obviously he gets us some pretty cool fight scenes. I didn't really care much for him. Obviously, he was just a plot device, mostly to get Devin to where she is at the end of the season, but he was fine. The crime dude, the little guy that hangs out with Maul for most of it, he was also fine. I thought that he brought some pretty good humor to the season, and obviously he's going to be returning probably, so I am excited to see where he is going. Captain Lawson wasn't exactly my favorite character. I get what they were going for. I just don't know if the voice actor just was kind of dry, or if that's what they wanted with the character or anything. I just didn't really connect with him. But at the end, when he sacrifices himself for the son, I did like that. And as for his son, I really didn't care about his son for most of the season. But I think that at the end, when his dad sacrifices himself for him, I thought that was pretty cool. And if we see the son again, which I don't know if we will, but if we do, he will probably be a bit more interesting, seeing as how his mom works for the Empire and his dad was murdered by the Empire. So that I am pretty excited to see. And Two Boots, who is like the robot that kind of was friends with that family, he was fine as well. He wasn't my favorite, and he was like a robot who was kind of trying to follow protocol for most of it, and it was just like, that was kind of annoying. There was a joke in episode 9 where they find toxic waste, and he's like, I gotta report this, or I gotta write it up or something, and Maul, Lawson, and I think it was the Jedi Master just like give him the side look, and that was hilarious, especially when Maul was doing it. Like the other two, it's like, it would have been funny, but Maul giving him the side eye as well, like that was really funny. And then for the bad guys, you've got the two Inquisitors. One is the Inquisitor that was in Tales of the Jedi who fought Ahsoka, and she ended up killing him. I thought he was pretty cool in this, and just like the mask that looks kind of like some type of species like skull, that looks really cool. And then you've got the other Inquisitor who's from Ahsoka Season 1, who in that season he gets killed, but then you find out that he had been killed before, and had been brought back by the Night Sisters. He's in this, and I thought he was also pretty cool. And it's just, like, I think the Inquisitors are a pretty cool concept, and for the most part, I've liked most of them. I didn't like Reva and Obi-Wan, though. She sucked. And then, obviously, the big bad guy who came in for one episode, Aura farmed, was the best part of the show, and then left. He didn't even say a single word. He just breathed. Darth Vader. Obviously, he's awesome. He's awesome. Peak best villain in fiction, probably. He's awesome. I love him. But as a whole, the season was really good. It definitely got better as it went along. I think that the first little bit of the season isn't exactly like the best thing Star Wars done, but it wasn't bad. And once you get to the last like 4 to 5 episodes of the season, it just kicks it into high gear, and it just has everything that you love about Star Wars. So it was a great return to form for Star Wars, because technically last year only had Tales of the Underworld and Andor, and Tales of the Underworld I thought was fine, but it being 6 episodes and each one is pretty short, it doesn't really add much, and it focused on 2 characters that aren't exactly my favorite. And I haven't watched Andor because even though people say it's like written greatly and it's one of the best Star Wars things, it doesn't have anything that I like truly love about Star Wars, which is like, I know it's basic, but I like seeing lightsabers or like characters that I love, or just like cool things. And just from everything I've seen of Andor, it just wouldn't be my type of show. But because of that, I feel like this is a great return to form for Star Wars. After, even if you did watch Andor, it only had 2 projects last year, whereas this year you've got Mandalorian Grogu, you got Ahsoka Season 2. There's a possibility of Maul Shadowlord Season 2 releasing around the end of the year, I would expect. I wouldn't expect, but I think there's a good possibility that it could release a little bit of the season at the end of the year. And then obviously next year you've got Starfighter and whatever they haven't announced yet. But yeah, this season I would give a solid 8.5 out of 10. It was really good. I thought it was great, and I can't wait for the next Star Wars project. But if you've seen this, tell me what you thought about the whole season. Tell me what you thought about the latest episodes 9 and 10, what you thought of Vader, what you thought of Maul, what you thought of all these other characters. I would like to know. Please like and subscribe for more movie and TV content. Obviously, just whatever movies and TV are releasing. We've got Daredevil ending tomorrow, which is going to be sad. But we've got that, and then obviously for Star Wars, we've got Mandalorian Grogu later this month. I'm going to be ranking all the Mandalorian projects. Then, when Ahsoka Season 2 releases later this year, I'll be reviewing that, and then ranking all the Star Wars shows. I will also be doing all the Star Wars movies for Mandalorian and Grogu, so I might not do the Mandalorian and Grogu, like, projects, like the seasons and the movie. I might just do the movies. And then for this, it's basically just this, yeah. So, if you want more Star Wars content or just movie and TV content, please like and subscribe. I would like that. And I will see you in the next one, which shouldn't be that long because Daredevil. But, I will see you then.